Violette woke up at 5:30 a.m. to the sound of her alarm and a headache that suggested last night's wine had been a poor decision. She lay there for a moment, eyes closed, and let herself remember a different morning, a different version of herself. She'd been 7 years old, maybe 8, and her grandfather, Augustus Westbrook Sr., the man who'd built Westbrook International from a single hotel in Atlantic City into an empire, had taken her to the original property. Just the two of them. No parents, no Harrison, who'd been a baby then and couldn't appreciate what their grandfather was showing them.
This is where it started, little bird. Your great-grandfather was a doorman here. Worked the front entrance for 30 years. He used to tell me, Gus, you watch these people come and go. You learn what they want. And someday, you give it to them.
7-year-old Violette had looked up at the grand hotel entrance, all brass and marble and revolving doors, and asked,
Did you give them what they wanted?
I gave them what they didn't know they wanted. That's the trick, little bird. You don't just meet expectations. You exceed them before anyone knows they had them.
He'd died when she was 14. Heart attack in his office at headquarters, surrounded by blueprints for a new hotel in Tokyo. At the funeral, Augustus, her father, had given a eulogy about legacy and excellence and carrying forward the Westbrook name with pride. Violette had stood next to her mother and cried into her black dress and promised her grandfather silently that she'd make him proud. 21 years later, she was still trying. 21 years later, she still felt like she was failing. Violette opened her eyes, stared at her ceiling, and forced herself out of bed. Tuesday, another day, another chance to prove she was worthy of the name she carried. In the bathroom, she stood at the sink and studied the note taped to her mirror. You're stronger than you think. A neighbor. She'd made a decision last night, right before falling asleep. She was going to find out who'd left this. Not in a creepy way, not by interrogating everyone in the building, but casually, organically, starting with the people on her floor. The elderly woman in 4C, Mrs. Habersham, had lived in the Ashford for 40 years, according to James the concierge, knew everyone, saw everything. If anyone had noticed Violette struggling, it would be her. Violette made a mental note to knock on 4C's door this evening. Bring something, cookies maybe or tea, and strike up a conversation. By the way, did you happen to see anyone near my apartment Friday morning? Casual, friendly, totally normal neighbor behavior. She showered, did her hair, applied her armor of makeup and professional clothing. At 6 a.m., she made coffee and checked her phone. 53 emails since midnight. One text from Sloan. Good morning. Remember, your family's opinion of you is not the truth. You're brilliant, capable, and way too good for any of them. Love you. Violette smiled and typed back, love you too. Coffee this week? Thursday lunch? I'm off at 1. Perfect. I'll make reservations. At 6:10 a.m., Violette started her work calls. First, Richard, who wanted to discuss yesterday's executive meeting and clarify some of Marcus's points, which really meant he wanted to soften the blow of her father siding with Marcus over her.
I think Augustus values your caution, Violette. He just wants to see more confidence in your recommendations.
My recommendations are confident. They're just not reckless.
I'm not suggesting you be reckless.
Then what are you suggesting, Richard?
Silence.
I'm suggesting you consider being more flexible, more open to alternative viewpoints.
Translation: agree with Marcus more often.
Noted. Was there anything else?
Just think about it. The board responds well to executives who can adapt.
She hung up and resisted the urge to throw her phone across the room. Instead, she made her second call to Emma, her assistant.
Morning, Ms. Westbrook.
Morning. Can you pull all the files on the Jakarta property from 2 years ago? I need Marcus's original projections and the actual performance data.
The ones where we lost 12 million?
Exactly those.
Should I ask why?
Because Marcus is pushing aggressive timelines again, and I want evidence ready when it inevitably goes sideways.
Emma laughed.
I'll have them on your desk by 9.
You're the best.
I know. That's why you pay me the big bucks.
Violette smiled despite her headache. Emma was 26, whip-smart, and had a sense of humor about the corporate warfare that Violette had lost somewhere around age 30. At 6:15 a.m., she started the music, but not Chopin today. Today she needed something different, something that reminded her of who she was before she became Augustus Westbrook's daughter and Westbrook International's COO. She scrolled through her phone, found the playlist she'd made in college, and hit play. Joni Mitchell. A Case of You. Her mother's favorite song, back before Catherine had stopped playing piano and stopped listening to music that wasn't classical and appropriate for society functions. Violette closed her eyes and let Joni's voice fill her apartment, remembering. Princeton, 2008. Violette was 18 years old and sitting in her dorm room at Princeton staring at her course registration for sophomore year. Her father wanted her to major in economics. Her grandfather, still alive then, though his health was declining, had suggested business administration with a minor in international relations. Her mother had said, "Whatever makes you happy, darling," which meant do what your father says. Violette had stared at the registration form for 3 hours, pen in hand, and thought about the piano in the common room downstairs. She'd been sneaking down there late at night when no one was around, teaching herself to play by watching YouTube videos and practicing until her fingers hurt. She was terrible at it, but she loved it. Loved the way the keys felt under her hands. Loved the way music could say things words couldn't. Loved the idea that she could create something beautiful instead of just managing something her grandfather had built. Her roommate Sarah had walked in and found her crying over the registration form.
What's wrong? I don't want to major in economics.
So don't.
My father...
Your father isn't living your life. You are.
Violette had looked at Sarah, pre-med, brilliant, first-generation college student whose parents had immigrated from Nigeria and worked 3 jobs to put her through school, and felt ashamed. Sarah didn't have the luxury of choosing a major based on passion. She had to choose based on practicality, on earning potential, on being able to support her family someday. And here was Violette, drowning in privilege, crying because her billionaire father wanted her to major in economics instead of music.
You're right. I'm being ridiculous.
I didn't say that. I said your father isn't living your life. What do you want, Violette? Not what does he want. What do you want?
Violette had stared at that registration form and written economics. Because wanting wasn't enough when you were a Westbrook, because legacy was heavier than desire, because she'd promised her grandfather she'd make him proud, the song ended. Violette opened her eyes, standing in her kitchen in her expensive apartment in a building her father owned, wearing a suit that cost more than Sarah's monthly rent back in college. Sarah was a surgeon now, worked at Mount Sinai, saved lives, made a difference, and Violette ran hotels. Important work, she told herself. Good work, employing thousands of people, creating beautiful spaces, carrying on her grandfather's legacy. But some mornings like this, she wondered what would have happened if she'd been brave enough to write music on that registration form. At 6:17 a.m., her phone rang. Harrison. She almost didn't answer, but he rarely called, and when he did, it was usually important.
What?
Good morning to you too, Vi.
I'm busy. What do you want?
I wanted to talk about the Paris project. Dad said you'd be providing support.
Dad said I'd be providing whatever resources you need. That's different than providing support.
Semantics.
No, it's the difference between being a team player and being your assistant. I'm COO. You report to me, not the other way around.
Silence. Then Harrison laughed.
You're still mad about Sunday.
I'm mad about a lot of things. Sunday is just the most recent.
Julian was asking about you.
I don't care.
He wants to apologize, properly this time.
Good for him. I don't want to hear it.
Vi,
Harrison, why did you really call?
Pause.
I need the Singapore files, the market analysis you did last quarter.
Ask Marcus. He's your new best friend.
Marcus doesn't have your level of detail. I need the raw data, not his summary.
So you need my work to make your project successful.
I need information that belongs to the company. Don't make this personal.
Violette laughed, bitter, sharp.
Everything with this family is personal. You know that as well as I do.
Just send me the files.
I'll have Emma send them over. Anything else?
Yeah, try not to be such a bitch about this. Dad gave me this project because I earned it, not because he's trying to hurt you.
If you think Dad does anything without strategy, you're naive. Everything he does is calculated, including pitting us against each other.
You're paranoid.
I'm realistic. There's a difference.
She hung up before Harrison could respond. stood in her kitchen, hand shaking slightly, and realized she'd been clenching her jaw so hard her teeth hurt. At 6:23 a.m., she texted Emma, "Harrison needs the Singapore files. Send him the summaries, not the raw data, and make him wait until this afternoon." Emma texted back immediately, "Petty, I love it. That's why I pay you the big bucks. Damn right." The day proceeded like most Tuesdays. Endless meetings, conference calls that could have been emails, and the slow erosion of her soul via corporate bureaucracy. At 11:30 a.m., she had lunch with Patricia from HR, the other woman at executive level, an ally in a building full of men who still acted like having two women in leadership was affirmative action gone wild.
How are you holding up?
I'm fine.
You're not fine. I saw your face during yesterday's meeting when Augustus gave the Paris project to Harrison.
Violette set down her fork.
Does everyone know?
Everyone knows everything in this company. We're like a small town, except the town is worth $3 billion and everyone's trying to stab each other in the back.
That's depressing.
That's corporate America. For what it's worth, I think Augustus is making a mistake. You're twice the executive Harrison is.
Tell him that.
I have multiple times. He thinks I'm biased because we're both women.
Are you?
Absolutely. But I'm also right. Harrison is all flash and no substance. You're the opposite. You do the actual work while he takes credit.
Violette smiled slightly.
You really don't like him.
I don't like men who coast on their last name and think it's the same as earning respect. Can I give you some unsolicited advice?
Do I have a choice?
Stop trying to win your father's approval. You're never going to get it. Not because you're not good enough, but because he's constitutionally incapable of admitting his daughter might be more competent than his son.
That's bleak.
That's patriarchy. Augustus grew up in a generation where women ran households and men ran businesses. He can't reconcile the fact that you're better at this than Harrison because it challenges his entire worldview.
So what do I do?
You stop performing for him. You do your job. You do it brilliantly, and you let the results speak for themselves. Eventually, the board will see what I see, that you're the future of this company and Harrison is a liability.
Eventually might be too late.
Then make it happen faster. Start building alliances. The board members who aren't in Augustus's pocket. The investors who care about performance over politics. Make yourself indispensable.
Violette considered this.
You make it sound like warfare.
It is warfare. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can start winning.
They finished lunch, and Violette went back to her office thinking about alliances and warfare and whether she had the energy for either. At 4:47 p.m., she was in her office reviewing contracts when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up.
Violette Westbrook.
Hi, Violette. It's Julian.
Her stomach dropped.
How did you get this number?
Your mother gave it to me. Look, I know you don't want to talk to me.
Then why are you calling?
Because I need to apologize. Really apologize. Not the half-assed attempt I made at your parents' place.
Violette closed her eyes.
Julian, I don't want to do this.
Just 5 minutes. Please. Let me say what I need to say, and then I'll leave you alone. I promise.
She should hang up. She should block his number. She should do a lot of things.
Fine, 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, so, I was an asshole. A huge asshole. The things I said to you about being frigid, about dying alone, those were cruel and unfair and completely wrong.
Violette waited.
I was angry and hurt. And instead of dealing with those feelings like an adult, I lashed out at you. And I'm sorry. Really, genuinely sorry.
Okay.
That's it? Just okay?
What do you want me to say, Julian? That I forgive you? That we should get back together?
I want you to say you'll think about it. About us. About whether we threw away something good because we were both too stubborn to compromise.
We didn't throw away something good. You threw away something good when you called me frigid and then showed up at my parents' house pretending nothing happened.
I wasn't pretending.
Yes, you were. You were performing for my parents, showing them what a great guy you are. How reasonable. How mature. While I'm the emotional, difficult one who can't let things go.
That's not what I was doing.
That's exactly what you were doing. Because that's what you always do. You gaslight me into thinking I'm the problem, that I'm too sensitive, too demanding, too much.
Silence.
I never meant to make you feel that way.
But you did. Repeatedly, for 2 years.
More silence.
So that's it? We're done? Just like that?
We were done the moment you decided my feelings didn't matter as much as your ego.
Vi!
Don't call me again, Julian. Please, just let me move on.
She hung up, sat in her office, hand shaking, and realized she was crying. Not because she missed Julian, but because she'd wasted 2 years on someone who'd made her feel small, because she'd let him, because some part of her had believed him when he said she was cold and impossible and too much work. At 5:15 p.m., Violette left the office early, something she never did. But today she couldn't stand being there another minute. Vincent drove her home in silence, and she was grateful he didn't try to make small talk. By 6 p.m., she was back in her apartment, shoes kicked off, suit jacket abandoned on the couch. She poured herself wine, a better vintage than last night, because if she was going to drink away her feelings, she should at least do it with a Burgundy that cost more than most people's car payments. At 6:15 p.m., she knocked on apartment 4C's door. Mrs. Habersham answered. Tiny, elderly, with eyes that had seen everything and judged most of it harshly.
Miss Westbrook, what a surprise.
Hi, Mrs. Habersham. I'm sorry to bother you. I brought cookies, and I wanted to ask you something.
Violette held up the box she'd bought from the bakery downstairs.
Come in.
The apartment was immaculate. Old-fashioned furniture, doilies on every surface, photos covering the walls, decades of family history, weddings and graduations and babies.
Sit.
Mrs. Habersham commanded, and Violette sat. Mrs. Habersham made tea, actual tea in a proper teapot, none of this bag-in-a-cup nonsense, and brought out small plates for the cookies.
Now, what did you want to ask?
Someone left a note under my door, last Friday. I was wondering if you might have seen anyone in the hallway that morning?
Mrs. Habersham's expression didn't change.
What did the note say?
Just something kind. Something I needed to hear.
And you want to know who left it?
Yes.
Mrs. Habersham sipped her tea.
Why?
Because I want to thank them.
Perhaps they don't want to be thanked. Perhaps they wanted to remain anonymous.
Perhaps, but I'd still like to know.
More tea sipping. Mrs. Habersham was clearly considering her response carefully. Finally,
I did not see anyone leave a note under your door.
Disappointment settled in Violette's chest.
But I did see the new tenant in 4A leaving for work around 6:15. He was in a hurry, carrying a work bag.
Violette's heart beat faster.
The new tenant?
Moved in last Monday. Young man, electrician, I think, drives a truck.
Violette's heart beat faster.
Did you see him near my door?
I saw him leaving his own apartment. Whether he stopped at your door, I could not say. Old eyes, you understand? Not as sharp as they once were.
But Mrs. Habersham's eyes were perfectly sharp. She was choosing her words carefully, protecting someone maybe, or protecting the mystery.
Thank you, Mrs. Habersham, for the tea and the information.
You're welcome, Miss Westbrook. And Miss Westbrook?
Yes?
Whoever left that note was right. You are stronger than you think. I've lived in this building for 40 years. I've seen many people come and go. You have something most of them don't.
What's that?
A spine. Use it.
At 8:33 p.m., Violette was back in her own apartment, staring at the wall she shared with 4A. The electrician, the new tenant. Young man, Mrs. Habersham had said. Had he left the note? Had he heard her fighting with Julian? Heard her crying? Was he the neighbor who thought she was stronger than she thought? Violette walked to the wall, pressed her hand against it. On the other side, silence. He wasn't home yet, or he was being very quiet. She stood there for another moment, hand on plaster, and made a decision. Tomorrow she'd meet him, properly, not just passing in the hallway. She'd introduce herself, strike up a conversation, see if she could figure out whether he was the one who'd left the note, and if he was, she'd thank him, and maybe, just maybe, she'd have an actual friend in this building full of strangers. At 10:15 p.m., she heard his door open and close. He was home. Violette stood by the wall listening, footsteps, water running, the normal sounds of someone settling in for the evening. She should go to bed. should stop thinking about the mysterious neighbor who might or might not have left her a note, should stop pressing her hand against this wall like she could somehow reach through plaster and make a connection with someone on the other side. But she stood there anyway, and wondered if he was standing on his side of the wall, listening too. Wondered if he knew how much that note had meant. Wondered if she'd ever be brave enough to tell him. At 10:47 p.m., her phone rang, her mother. Violette let it go to voicemail. At 11:03 p.m., she listened to the message.
Violette, darling, Julian called me. He said you hung up on him. I know you're upset, but running away from difficult conversations isn't the solution. Please call him back. Give him a chance to make things right. Love you.
Violette deleted the message, poured more wine, and stood at her window looking out at Manhattan. 8 million people in this city. And somehow she'd never felt more alone. Except somewhere in this building, a neighbor had noticed she was struggling, had taken the time to write 8 words, had cared enough to leave them under her door. That was something. That was enough. For now. At midnight, Violette finally went to bed, lay in the dark, and thought about the man on the other side of the wall, the electrician, the one Mrs. Habersham had seen leaving around 6:15 a.m., the one who might have left the note.
Thanks for listening, and please subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
And for early access and bonus episodes, become a Patreon supporter today.